Hello everyone and welcome to the To Have and To Roll podcast. My name is Oliver. On this show, my co-host Robyn and myself are joined by our guest Rhianne Murphy. Rhianne is a first-time LARPer and experienced her first game at Empire LARP this year. We talked to Rhianne about her experiences as a first-time live-action role player and what it was like being a new player in the Empire LARP system. If you're joining us on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. If you are new here, consider subscribing to the channel so you know when a new episode is posted. It is completely free. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. We do also have a Patreon if you want to support us in that way. You are under no obligation to do so, of course. And with that all out of the way, let's get into our conversation with Rhianne. We have Rhianne with us today. Welcome to the show, Rhianne.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem, a pleasure. You are our first new player. What's weird is that we keep saying this. The past couple of episodes we've done, we're not new players anymore. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get someone who is brand new to Empire. So you went to which event this year?
E4 this year was my first event, so in September.
Nice. Yeah, so you did a little video, a little shout out to your YouTube video. You did a little video, didn't you, on your experiences at Empire?
I did, yes. I wanted to do Empire for like the longest time, and obviously you can't like film in Empire itself, but I just thought it'd be fun to do like a little intro to like my experience of it, because I just had the best time ever.
It is the most it's the most fun content to listen to, is the new experiences, because I know when we first started, it was very valuable for us listening to other content creators on their first time, because there's no filming, like you said, so it's really difficult to know exactly what to expect. Is that something how did you kind of find out about Empire in that way? Did you like search, go through all the podcasts?
Yes, funnily enough, listening to your guys' podcast.
There it is.
We had a little chat, yeah.
I was just trying my hardest to take credit.
But
no, we can see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
But no, legitimately, you guys, I listened to your intro video earlier this year, I think it was. LARP has been something that I wanted to do for years, and in 2019, my goals for 2020 were to be like, finally do a LARP.
No.
And then 2020 hit.
Oh no, you're
and
one of those.
We all know what happened.
Oh.
Empire specifically, though, was recommended to me by a few friends, because my friendship group are all nerds, video games, tabletop RPGs, theatre kids. That combination usually leads to LARP at somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
So, a friend at work and a friend outside of work both recommended Empire. And I think that's what made me try to research into Empire specifically and lead me to you guys and watch a load of your content.
Nice. How far down the preparation did you get in 2019? Were you like almost ready to go, or?
Luckily not. It was just at the beginning of 2020 when I said, yeah, Empire, and then 2 months in, everything kind of went pear-shaped. So everything was on pause in every aspect of everyone's life. So luckily I hadn't like spent a lot of money or like bought tickets or invested in camping gear and costumes and all of that. But yeah, got to do it fresh this year.
So you joined this year then, and then what nation is it that you've joined?
Wintermark.
Why Wintermark?
Yeah, why Wintermark?
Honestly, I don't know if this is going to be like funny or not. So I went on a girls' trip last year with my little nerdy girl group, and we literally sat in a hot tub drinking, going, you know what we should do? We should join Empire. Yeah, let's go. And like I'm trying to like drag as many of my friends into it as possible. So we're all kind of semi-tipsy in a hot tub, and then I'm reading out the Empire wiki to all of them. And that was how we spent our girls' holiday. And they were like, yeah, Wintermark, because I think most of us are kind of a bit alternative in different ways. I think the aesthetic of this sort of hardcore rock and roll, not Vikings, but kind of Vikings.
Or Vikings.
Ish. I know it says on like the wiki, like we're not Vikings, but it's like in layman's terms to try and get people on board. It's kind of easier to say, Saxon maybe is more like. But yeah, literally that is how we chose Wintermark, is because we all sat kind of tipsy in a hot tub and went, that sounds hardcore. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That is amazing. How many of the people that you had that hot tub with, how many of them came with you to
one? Everything fell apart.
Yeah.
But they do want to come next year. It was just really unfortunate timing. So only one of them could make it. But yeah, next year I've got an even bigger group who have now bought tickets, all different nations. But we have our own little Discord server. There's about 7 of us now.
Oh really? Oh, so you've split.
That's amazing.
You've split between all the nations, have you?
Yeah. So it's just like everyone in that group that I'm with have never done any LARP before. So it was basically like again, my sort of spree of who's going to join Empire with me? Somebody please join Empire with me. So it's all of my friends who have said yes. And then we've just kind of created this little group to just get involved and try. So yeah, I think, a good chunk of them have bought tickets now, which is awesome. So it's going to be really interesting E1 next year to see what the hell happens. There's just all of a sudden a whole new group of strange individuals going, I don't know what I'm doing, but she told me to come here.
That is so cool. It's really cool as well, like split into different nations as well, because usually when you get a group of new people, they will tend to stick to the same one and then find out which one they like. But I quite like that, like going for the ones that speak out. Do you know what nations they've all gone for?
Yeah, so there's a fair few Wintermark because the hot tub girls are going to be back in Wintermark. There's one of my friends is going Navarre, and one of them is split between Dawn and Wintermark. So you guys might have to give them a message and try and convince them.
We'll look after them.
Yeah.
Come to Dawn.
I feel like you need to
everybody says that.
I feel like you now set something, since you all originated from like the hot tub. I feel like there now needs to be like a proper wooden built hot tub in Wintermark with like I'm picturing it like out in the snow and stuff, and just like have this sort of
Oh yeah, can we like get profound decisions like on the next hey, could you guys make a hot tub, like a ye olde hot tub that's powered by magic? We just add it in the law. Sauna, I don't know.
I mean, it's cold at E1, come on.
There has been talks of it, because there's been people bringing like pools and tubs. I think people have actually brought hot tubs and put cold water in them for the hot events. So I think that there is definitely people speaking about hot tubs for E1. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had a conversation when we were monstering with someone at E4 this year, and we were talking about the paddling pools, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know who you are, but I can distinctly remember someone talking about, I'm going to see if I can bring a hot tub at E1 next year.
Wow.
We could
That is good.
I don't know how in character it would be, but
they could make it in
work with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was in likes of Highguard, because like they do the Roman baths event and everything, I'm just picturing a nice big hot sort of section. Highguard, it'd work for them, I think.
Yeah, I think you could. I think you can make it work. So, Rhi, did you come on the Thursday? Were you like super keen? Did you camp in character or out of character?
Out of character. So yeah, I knew I'd like it. I think in the back of my head, I knew I'd like it, and I was like, okay, well, still start small, because you might actually get there and you might actually go, you know what, at the end of it, I'm not really vibing with it, and I didn't want to kind of spend all that time and money getting the in-character stuff, because I know like the cloth tents are quite expensive and they're really difficult to travel and clean, so I didn't want to kind of commit fully. I would love to commit fully now, but yeah, I think even for the next event we're going to go out of character just to kind of make things a bit easier, because I don't have a car, so I am relying on sort of either someone else or public transport. So I didn't, again, lugging around a huge cloth tent might not be the easiest. But yeah.
They're not. I mean, like we bought one again. We were like, oh yeah, we knew we'd love it. I think in our head we had it. I think we thought, well, if we don't like it, then they're pretty easy to sell secondhand because people are constantly. I know when we started, definitely in 2020. Hang on, when did we start? 2022. But when we were first looking into it, people were constantly online, like looking for secondhand tents and things like that. So like, look, we'll get a new one because I want a new one, and then if not, then we'll sell it. Luckily it all worked out, but yeah, they are a pain. Like, we've literally had to just for the first time we've sent ours away to get cleaned, and that's isn't cheap. Because it's not a small thing to send away to get cleaned either.
No.
So
that's the thing, that we had lots of people like explain to us exactly how to properly clean and reproof it and all the things we would need to do it. And I priced it all up, and I also, doubled it because I'm going to do something wrong and have to get more stuff. And I thought, there's companies that just do this. And they have insurance, so I'm just going to send it there and hope for the best. But I mean, yeah, we did 2 whole years before we needed it cleaned.
That's good. That's good, because I was worried that you'd have to like clean it after every. So I mean, I guess it depends, because summer nothing really happened weather-wise apart from everyone sort of dying under the heat. But otherwise, it was okay. I've heard the horror stories though, and you both will have to tell me what I need to prepare for E1 of mudslides, rain, ice. Like, as a first-time player, what do I need to bring?
Right. I'm going to give you some advice, okay? Because
Please.
I really struggled last year at E1 because it was cold and I did not wear enough clothes. You're in the best nation because you're in a nation that has several places that prepare hot food. My advice to you at E1 is to do what I didn't do and get a hot meal at night before you end up going to sleep, because that is going to make such a difference. Go get an actual hot meal. There's all the obvious things like thermals, but honestly, fire is your best friend at that event, and it really will make a difference, because when you actually do get to the stage where you're already really cold, trying to warm yourself up is hard. I mean, the advice I got given, which was quite weird to understand, which was put your extra layers on before you get cold, which I was like, well, I don't know when I'm going to get cold though, so I didn't really do that.
Yeah, before you get cold. Yeah. So if you go, right, I feel quite comfortable, it's winter, it's going to get dark soon, I better go put some other stuff on. What was it like getting kit? Because I know the one thing that I do say to people about the winter event is that, if it's cold, you are going to need more kit. So what was your kit like in that heat?
Oh God. Okay. So I ended up kind of utilizing a load of stuff I already had, because I already like have some, elven cosplay bits and pieces from over the years. Listen, ASOS came through for me, like, not sponsored, props to ASOS. But like, basically my entire weekend was spent in a beach dress that I got earlier this year for holiday. But because I had like different accessories, I had like these feathery pauldrons for the Kilovisa, sort of mysticky vibes. I had like a belt, like a fur belt from my Dragon Age Morrigan cosplay.
Nice.
Like, I had like loads of hodgepodge stuff that I basically popped together. But because it's so hot, the beach dress was great because it was all ventilated. It's meant to be for hot weather. I have like nothing fantasy related for cold, wet weather. I've got layers, like I've got underskirts, but I'm gonna have to do like a big thrifting session around London or something to go like, right, where can I get cloaks, heavy furs, like what can I pin on top of things to try and layer?
One thing, like, when you're looking for different things, because obviously the thrifting is amazing because you can get quite a lot. But there is, I think there's maybe only one event before E1, which is What's Your Game, which is like in Gloucester. They tend to sell they'll have things like cloaks, they should have furs and things like that as well.
Ooh.
That you'll be able to go, and also it's like a fun little LARP meetup before E1 because everyone just wants to meet up, and then you can go, and there's some nice pubs around and stuff, so you get to just go and have a fun little meetup and then also source everything. But there's also a few things. There's like the LARP selling group on Facebook and stuff, where they
nice.
literally just sell. There's one specifically for Empire, because when people's characters die, I heard they have to switch kit, and those groups are good for that.
I'm not gonna lie, just on that topic, when I listened to your podcast after, because it was like a 3-part podcast, right, that you guys did after.
Yeah.
I was crying.
Oh, man. So
I was at work listening to you guys going,
oh, no.
and then we held hands, and then the Jotun carried me over. It's like, is that your true love? And I'm there like trying to write these documentations.
Okay, so like this might be a broad question then, just off the back of that, because that you would have probably listened to that like right before you came to your first event, because that was E3 we died. You came to E4. So like listening to these stories, how well did it map onto what you experienced? As in, like, was it kind of what you expected in a very broad question kind of way?
It's so the tone of the experience, like this sort of high fantasy, story rich narrative world that I was in, totally like on par with what I expected and what I had heard from like listening to you guys, other friends, all of that. I think the thing that amazed me the most and impressed me the most is that even though I'd listened to a load of content, and even though I'd listened to like the Winds of Change and the Winds of Fortune and read all of that on the Empire wiki beforehand, I experienced like none of that. Like, Empire is so big and there are so many storylines. Like, I'd heard of Cold Sun, I'd heard all of that debacle, and I came into the whole event and nobody really brought it up at all to me because it was not important to anything I was doing. I went off on like a random tangent, which is awesome. Like, there's so many threads. It was incredible. It was huge.
Yeah. So what was your experience? So like character creation, you obviously had an idea of kind of what kind of character you wanted. How easy was it to be like, did it match up to what you thought your character was? Because I know a lot of new players seem to say this, that it seems to go, oh yeah, no, I went in as like a mage and then it wasn't really my thing, or I wanted to come in and do this, but it wasn't really interested in that game. It wasn't what I expected. Sometimes even with nations, people say, oh, I joined the Brass Coast and then it wasn't what I expected. Was your character kind of, did you make your character and were they exactly what you expected?
I intentionally left her quite blank. So I didn't really give her a lot of backstory or a lot of ambitions or objectives, because something that was told to me beforehand was like exactly what you said, right? You go in, you experience it for the first time, you kind of get a better handle on how you want to play your character, what nation you prefer. On the first day I was there, I was talking to another group in Wintermark, and we were kind of going through more of the logistic stuff about my character, and they said, oh, what's your resource? And I went, oh, it's a herb garden. And they were like, you'd probably be better off going to God and changing that to mana resources, because all of the rest of your build is like leaning to magic, and honestly magic is worth more as well. Like, the mana stuff's worth more. You can get herbs out and about whenever you want them if you need them, and that was a really good call on their part, because I found that actually after the event I did want to lean more into magic, and I sort of slightly respect Celine as more of a dark law magician than the herbology side of things. But otherwise her characteristics, I didn't know how I was actually going to role play as her, because I didn't know what to expect. So I didn't want to set those expectations up and come in and go, oh wow, this is just like not me. I don't want to do this anymore. I was very fumbled in my first role play interaction. Like, I think I mentioned on like my video that this in like a meeting, like at the Wintermark meeting on the Friday evening, where they're going through all the news, and a player comes up behind me, and their role playing was like so good. And because I just was not mentally prepared for anything, and I was just sat there absorbing it, thinking I'd spend the first hour or two going, oh, I'll walk around, and they're coming into me like, you should nominate yourself to be the Ravenseer. And I was like, I don't know what any of this is. And I just couldn't get my words out. And at one point I just went, and then turned back around and like started staring at it, and like I couldn't do anything. I completely 404 shut off, like dial-up noises, everything just like went through my head. So yeah, it was really nice going to the first time with a blank character, because now I know exactly how I want to play her and sort of where I want to take her.
Yeah, it can be quite jarring, that first experience. It sounded like you had a good LARPer and a good role player come up to you, because they obviously saw that you were a Calaveser, and I don't know the Wintermark stuff. I don't even know what was it you said. Put yourself forward for?
The Ravenseer. So we had a Ravenseer election, which is basically like a really important mystic in Wintermark, because the Ravenseer has now changed in Wintermark. We've got a new so that's going to be fun.
yeah. No, that's a good role. That's a good LARPer, because you know a LARPer will go up to another, especially if they might not have known that you were new, but they obviously saw someone when I don't recognize that face. They're obviously a Calaveser, and they've come up and encouraged you to play. You know, did you come across a lot of that in Or yeah, how was it like easing into it? Because it took us like, for me, it was a little bit clunky right at the start, and then I just jumped in with both feet, and then I was fine. And I just went, you know what? Yeah, I will stand for this seat that you're encouraging me for, sure. And then the rest was history.
I was very lucky that there was lots of people who straight away were like, let's go. Hey, who are you? And they also, the role play aspect wasn't extremely heavy for the first day either. I think people just kind of, the moment you say, oh, I'm new to Anvil, they just kind of broke out of character and was like, oh, hey, do you want me to take you around? Let me introduce you to a few people. Straight away I bumped into somebody, and in character, I kind of like said, I think I need a drink of water. And they were just like, don't worry a second, I have a water tank in my abode, or like it was something that was still in character, and got me a glass of water, because I was there like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But yeah, I ended up being showed to this really interesting character, the shaman in Wintermark, and they had a load of quests to give. They were incredible role player, had like an extreme presence, and they sent me off on like my first little quest, and that's how I got stuck into things. It took me all around Empire, so I spent the first day and a half going to loads of different nations, trying to kind of do this quest, and then came back to them the day after with sort of the stuff that I'd found. And it was a lovely way. It was almost like a crash course tutorial into, go on then, off you pop, go speak to a load of people, get yourself stuck in. It was really good.
What was the quest that Celine had to do then?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
It was something that I know, sorry. A part of me is like, I want to tell people, but another part of me is like, actually, I think
keep it
in game, at least for now,
that is even juicier.
Because at least for me, my limited knowledge of Empire and sort of the lore of Empire is the quest they sent me on. He said, basically, you don't have to complete the quest, but you just need to try or I'll kill you. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's go. Like, I've got no stakes in this character. It's my first event. If I die, I die. I roll new character. It's fine. So I did it, and I ended up finding out everything, which was, I don't know if that's a thing that a lot of people do actually know, and I don't need to hold those cards close to my chest, or actually I've actually figured something else out, and I should probably not
figured something out. Hold it close.
but either way, I found this thing out, and I reported back to this person and was like, hey, this is what I figured out. And they basically said, well, why don't you take that information and do this other thing with it? So that's maybe something that I want to do next time. So we'll see. I don't think I've decided yet, but it's definitely led me on a road of my character, I think, is now driven by knowledge and especially because the night law stuff is a lot of secrets. Like it's a lot of the magic is about, you know, uncovering secrets, keeping secrets. So I think I'm going to play into that heavily and try and throw out lots of information. There's like a price for things or something. Like,
oh, that is so good. I love the idea of a quest giver thing as well. That's so cool. So Celine, obviously, you now have a bit of an idea on where she's going. Did you have any kind of inspiration for her? Like, I had inspiration via like specific TV and book characters for Nymeria, but did you have any like outside inspiration for Celine for when you were role playing her or anything?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted her to be extremely kind of confident and self-assured in herself, but kind of like that witchy aspect. So I like my witchy stuff anyway. Like I practice tarot and do all of that stuff anyway in my own time. So I wanted to bring that element of it into her because it was something I was comfortable with. But then I also wanted to take from, I think Morrigan from Dragon Age was like a big inspiration. Yeah.
I saw the pictures of you, and this is the first thing that came to mind when I was looking at that, and I was looking at how you did the makeup and the feathers. I was like, I'm getting Morrigan vibes here. Amazing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because she, as a character, yet she's kind of the Witch of the Wilds. I think that fit really well into the Kellavasi mystic genre as well. She's very confident, she's very self-assured, she's very intelligent, and I kind of wanted to bring that element into Celine. I think I want to play Celine a little bit more playful and sassy at times. Basically give myself an opportunity to be a different side of myself, if that makes sense, because I think that's a nice opportunity to kind of find that confidence in that side of things where I'm not like that in real life. But yeah, that Morrigan is probably the biggest influence for Celine for sure.
Yeah.
It's what's so good about LARP though, isn't it? Like you do get to just experience that part of yourself that you don't always get to have, and it's quite a good role play exercise just to see how you are like received as this different sort of persona you're taking on. And yeah, Morrigan is definitely that, you know, strong, independent, but still that little bit sass. Like I do love that. So you obviously said that you've had your quests and got a few little secret things that you're going to go and try. Is there anything for E1 that you're like, oh, I didn't get to experience that, I want to go and maybe experience that this time, or anything?
I think part of my E1 experience is going to be like ushering my friends into places, which I'm looking forward to, especially the ones that are also wanting to join Wintermark. I think Celine, not in I don't think in E1, I think I might want to do some more warming up beforehand, but definitely from E2 onwards, I'd like to start a coven. That would be something that I'd want to do. And again, kind of build up this sort of information character. E1, I'd love to do some more networking, and also astronomancy. I didn't get to do a lot of astronomancy in E4 this year, so because Celine's magic is based on the astronomancy stuff instead of the runes, which is kind of more typical Wintermark stuff. I made a set of oracle cards based on the Empire constellations. And I think I only did one reading, so I'd like to be able to do a bit more of that in E1. You know, for do you want to have your fortune read for prosperity sort of thing?
That's so cool, isn't it? It really. I love hearing these types of stories because you could have listened to our podcast for hours and hours that we've done it. We barely mention night magic, but like you say, when you're like, oh, you have you have your own story. That's the thing. There's so many avenues to go down. Like we barely come in contact with night magic in the 2 years we've been playing. But if you're interested in that, it sounds like you had a whole game around it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. I think at first when I was looking at the the laws of magic, night law didn't really appeal to me personally, like as Rhianne. But I wanted to push myself out of what I usually play, in tabletop RPGs or in video games. I want to do different kinds of like maybe I can do healing magic, or maybe I can do things that are fun or like bardy. But with Celine, it's definitely more like spy master kind of vibes. But yeah, it's really interesting to also get involved in other people's stories as much as possible, because there's so much going on. And just speaking to another group in Wintermark, and they're like, oh, and I won't spoil what they did, because that's also like completely secret to them. And at one point, like, I don't know if we should tell you this. I said, you don't have to tell me this. We're going to tell you this. Okay, that's a burden, but I will take it. They were looking for this very important thing on the Saturday night, and I was like, oh god, that sounds really interesting. I don't know if I want to get myself involved in that yet. So I didn't. It turns out they didn't find that thing. Another group found them first, and it was all like a bit chaos. But it's so fun to get involved in. Like, you walk up to someone, you're like, oh, what are you doing now? And they'll come up with like some sort of strange, we're going to a wedding. We're going to assassinate someone. We're going, the poor Mithril man. Oh my god, E1 next year. We've got what, like, literally coming into Empire at this moment in time is like that gif of that guy walking in with the pizza box and everything's on fire. You've got Cold Sun, you've got the new Empress, you've got the death of the Mithril man, the holy trinity of things that are happening right now at Empire. E1 next year, I feel so sorry for my friends. They're gonna walk into like a trash fire of events happening.
Oh my gosh, it's because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, God, that must have been a crazy event to come into, because so much stuff happened. But if you actually really think about it, every single event, something crazy happens. It's one of these things where it's like, I don't know when would be the best time for a new player to come in. Any event, just come for it, because there's always going to be so much happening. So you've obviously made her very magical and everything, and looking at doing the coven, which will be pretty awesome. My coven knowledge is very, very low, which is terrible because our house has a winter coven, but it's very low. I'm just there to do the fighting stuff. Did you have a go at any of the combat side of it, or does that interest you in any way?
So I didn't do any combat stuff. I'm a little bit apprehensive because I have a leg injury. So I can just see myself being, and I know it's not like proper combat, right? But like, I've got a dodgy knee. I can like literally walk down the street and my knee decides to dislocate. It's very temperamental. So I could just see myself. Yeah, I could just see myself being like, charge, and take one step and then just fall over before I even get to like an orc. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it for now. I'm just going to like keep it chill. I would be interested. I think eventually I would be interested in doing something on the field, like, because I can see Celine being a very proactive character. Like, even though she's not in the shadows, but she likes to work in the shadows and know a lot of things. But she's not afraid to go. True Wintermark spirit. Going in and being like, sod you all, I'm good for Wintermark.
Like, I can picture her like Morgan style with the staff, just coming in and just mass shattering everything and then just slipping back into the shadows.
Yeah, just sort of like click a finger, be like, let's go for tea, go on in.
I've done my part, good luck.
Yeah. Peace. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because I know you said on your video that you didn't do any the combat, and a lot of people that are, because that's the thing, the people that talk about combat, like, we love the combat, and some of the most exciting stories we tell is about the combat, but I never want that to put off new people coming, being like, oh, I don't think I can do the combat, because I'm assuming it didn't take anything away from your weekend that you didn't do any combat.
Oh no, my weekend was chock-a-block. Like, seriously, the amount of stuff you do in the weekend is simultaneously too much and not enough. Like, there's not enough hours to do everything, but yet you've walked, I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of steps we do in a weekend, right? Like, across an Empire weekend. There's so much stuff. Songs and stories, traveling around, like, on the Friday and Saturday nights. That was like a highlight for me personally, going to the bar.
Oh yeah.
How
did you find that? Because that is one of those, like, when you go to like a major city like New York, you're like, oh well, you got to go to the Chrysler Building or whatever. Like, Songs and Stories seems to be one of those for new Empire players. Everyone's like, you got to do something stories. So
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm looking forward to going back to that. There was one song in particular, like at the end of the Saturday night, and everyone's like raising like everyone knows the words and they're raising the weapons up and singing along to it. And it was just this surreal moment where I'm like, I'm actually in a completely different world now. This is amazing. There's just like a whole existence of this world and lore that everybody is a part of, and you're like, whoa, this is huge.
That is like the Navari, that they do like Songs of Stories is a good primer for immersion, because that's usually when you're a new player and you realize, oh, where it's not just, oh yeah, a game and then there's combat. Like, oh, we're actually living in this world. It's not us going into a field and hitting each other with swords. You know, everyone's telling stories, and where, you know, like where there's one big family, and you're like, oh, I'm actually in this world. And that's usually, for a lot of people, that's usually a highlight of their first event when they go. I think the song's One Voice.
That's the song.
Yeah, there we
yes.
go. The Navari, my Navari friends will correct us if we're wrong, but yeah, it's usually
They'll put all the lyrics in the comments, so we'll be fine.
Good.
Yeah.
I want it on Spotify. Like.
yeah. It's funny because first time I saw that, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Now I'm more like in the world, and my character's in the world. I think the last time was we just happened to be at Songs and Stories, and they were singing that, and they were getting all rowdy, and I think I'd said, oh, I really wish they'd shown that much enthusiasm on the battlefield, or some crappy comment or something like that. Everyone's like, "Rah!" Just like, it's like, where were you earlier?
Get a bard on the field next time. Let's go.
Yeah. Would you idiot as well? That it's so funny. I think, when was the last time we were complaining about Navarre? It was when we were in the orc camp, and we were like, because we I think it was E1 this year, right?
We did the orc pub crawl and almost died.
Yeah, we were in
that was E1.
Yeah, you almost actually died. Yeah, we were in the orc camp, and obviously then the Navarre were kicking off with their Songs and Stories, and I didn't realise how, I'm like, they're noisy neighbours, right? And the orcs are just like, yeah.
It's like, that's right on your doorstep. I'm amazed you haven't just gone and killed them all.
So what else did you experience apart from Songs? Because Songs and Stories is great. Apart from that, what else? What other big thing? Did you do the night market?
I did. We went in the night market after Songs and Stories, and then there was a guy walking around with a traveling casino, which was so cool. It was like, you know, the sort of straps on the shoulders and like a little tray in front of them sort of thing. And it was like dice games, cup games, card games. And it was literally, one of my friends was like, take my money, I bet on this number. And it was, yeah, it was brilliant. That was really good. I don't think I bought anything from any of the markets this time around, like during the day or the night market, but that was amazing. And it is the perfect, I mean, in the evening, it was the perfect weather for it, because it was just this lovely summer feeling, and everybody was like getting really festive in the summertime, sat outside the tavern. And I remember it getting to 2:00, and there was like 2:00 in the morning, and everyone was like, our character time. Hey, and then carrying on.
None of us are breaking character anyway, so it's fine.
yes. I think usually, people will say out of character when they want to just like break immersion. There's never like a hard like, okay, we can't be in character now. People usually carry on. Yeah. But if someone like really wants to say something, there's something that's wildly out of character, they're just like, oh, by the way, we're time out now. So do you have, and then they'll say something like crazy out of character or something. But
can anyone give me a lift back to the hotel? Oh.
Yeah, lift back. Yeah. Well, even then, that's not like massively immersion breaking, is it? How did you? What did you think of the whole like in character, out of character aspect of LARP?
Yeah, I thought it was quite easy, to be honest. I don't know if we've just got like a really good group of people around, but it wasn't like, there wasn't like LARP police around, so you had to be in character all the time. But it was a really nice mix of, if you're kind of in a little quiet group, you don't really have to be in character unless you really want to. When we were sat down with a few people in Wintermark, I don't think we were ever really in character, because we were just sort of discussing Empire and just getting warmed up and sort of taking us through the different things. But then when we were in character, it was nice to flex those muscles. I did like a workshop on the Sunday, like a magic workshop in Wintermark. And it was about dramaturgy. and the shaman brought a load of props and was kind of teaching us through the art of dramaturgy, and with all these props, and you had to like move your body around to cast the magic or feel the magic, and then you pass it to the next person, and it was really, really cool. And that was a nice role play moment, but it never felt like too intense, and it never felt like I couldn't step away at any point. Everyone was very chill and respectful. Like if you just needed to go, people were like, we'll see them, bye.
Yeah. I think Wintermark as a nation, I think, is pretty good. So Navarre are the same because they're such popular nations for new players. I think there's a lot of they have a big community anyway of LARPers in those nations, but I think because they get so many new people, like you can make your whole game about talking to new people, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there is people actively doing that. I know there's people that help new players in Dawn. Obviously, the egregor's job is pretty much to do that as well. I do feel that Dawn isn't as geared up for newer players. I think there's definitely tiers of different nations that you can go into that you get different experiences. Because I don't, unless I'm wrong, unless you disagree with me, Robyn, I don't tend to see. Obviously, people are encouraging new players, but there's not a lot of like, oh, if you're new to Anvil, come over here and we're going to show you this. Dawn is just very much go, and we all just go our separate ways.
Yeah, because like, we've spoken about that before. There are a lot of nations. They have their introduction. You know, they're standing, or they talk to everybody. And actually, that's a really good opportunity. Dawn tends to be like, it's time in, go. And within seconds, someone's yelling something in the glory square. Someone's challenging someone to a fight. Someone's going for an election or something. It is just go, go, go straight away. And in one way, I'm like, maybe that's not new player friendly, but in another way, that can emerge you just a bit quicker than some of the other things, because before you're instantly in a world where everyone around you is in character. And I had the same thing you had. I had the first few minutes, I forgot my name completely. Someone tried to speak to me, and they were like, yes, and who are you? And I was like, are we in character? I was a mess, okay? And it's fine because they kind of like saw me fumble and they went, I take it you're new to Anvil.
Yeah.
So they do definitely help you, but I do think, like Oliver said, there are certain nations that get so many new players, they are a little bit more geared up for it. Wintermark and Navarre, I think, are those nations that they get so many new ones that they have that big community meet up
Yes.
and really encourage that to kind of, you know, help new people find their feet, but also point out the people they need to go to if they are struggling and so on.
Yeah, we had that. Literally was the Friday night. So they ask who's new, basically, in in a better way. They don't just be like, who's new here? But they're like, the new faces of Wintermark, step forward and face your brothers and sisters in whatever. And so I had to step into this circle. And there was a fair few of us. There was maybe about, I don't know, 6 of us, 7 of us, and we stepped into the circle, and then we had to turn around and face everybody else that was there in Wintermark. And it was like a moment where you're like, look at these faces, these are new people here, offer them our hospitality and support, and 3 people, 1 nation. And then you go back in, and then that's when the role play happened, and I went but yeah,
that's a really good idea, actually, especially in a nation as big as Wintermark.
It's huge.
Like, these people here, can we make sure they're okay?
Yeah. Don't kill them yet, okay? Give them at least the day.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like Robyn was saying, I don't think there's pros and cons to both those. I think in the other nations it's different as well. I know, like we had have a friend who his first ever event was in the Imperial Orcs, and he had a completely different experience again, and so they're all different, but I know that's kind of what they aim for. I know when we had Matt P on, he literally said that the idea was to give people not just one game but 10 different games, so you could literally, if you did want to do that thing where you hop nations, you would have a different experience in every nation. So I know we'll get, and the idea of the game is a little bit like tribalistic anyway, but and we're like, oh, it's this better way we do it. But if everyone did it the same way, it would just be, we may as well just all be Wintermark, I guess, you know.
Yeah, you lose that flavor, don't you, and that uniqueness. Like you could play Empire for, I mean, 50 years if you really wanted to. You know, it is possible, right? You could start as a younger kid. You know, your parents could have taken you, and by the time you reach your 40s or whatever, you've had 5 different nations to play with.
Yeah, I mean, there are players there that have been going since like the early events, so it's been going 10 years now, and they started as children and they're literally adults now.
Yeah,
I think.
And on the other side of that, we've got friends whose kids were teeny tiny at that first event, or like would have been really little. And I know at least a few kids that over the past 10 years have grown up in Empire, and they are terrifying. But
Red for Empire.
It's just a weird sort of thing. I definitely like to revisit that topic maybe when they are like in their 20s and be like, so how was it, you know, growing up in 2 different worlds?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I mean, there's not that, because it's been going quite a while. That's the thing. So I don't know. They've got there's no plan anyway to stop, because it's quite slow. Did you find it was quite a slow pace of a game compared to what you might find in like your TTRPGs and things like that?
I don't know. I found my weekend quite fast paced, but I think again that was because I was given an objective so early on that it consumed like my Friday night and half of my Saturday. So that by the time I got to kind of like the Saturday afternoon, evening, I had this free time to then use all the stuff that I had, you know, all the people that I'd met, know where everything is, or not everything, but I like that it didn't feel rushed though, even though that objective was like, oh, you have the weekend to do it, and I, you know, me and my brain kind of went, let's go, let's do this now, I want to like inject everything into me, let's go do as much as possible. I never felt like I couldn't take a moment, sit down, chill, go get food, go just experience sitting with, I had tea in, oh, I can't remember which nation it is now, but I knew my egregore before Empire. So I ended up bumping into her, and she was like, oh, I have a +1 to having tea in Urizen, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like there's some
council
people
to have the nice tea.
Yeah, if it's tea,
Yeah.
it's going to be either be the Brass Coast or Urizen. I think for tea, they're all about tea, those two.
Yeah, so she was like, do you want to be my +1? I was like, sure. I think I only really stayed in there for a few minutes. They were like reciting poetry and drinking tea, but it was just so warm that I was like, excuse me, it's been lovely, but I need to like not be in a tent right now.
With tea.
Yeah, so it's yeah, with tea. To be fair, tea is actually quite a good thing to drink when it's too warm, because it acclimatizes the body to the heat outside. So anyway, random fact. Then but yeah, it never felt like I was rushed. It did feel like I had a lot to sink my teeth into, but at the same time I could just enjoy, walk around, speak to random people.
Yeah. Did you end up hitting like a brick wall, kind of burnout wise? Because obviously, if you're that busy, and it's like, because I totally agree with what you said earlier. You said it's one of those. Every event, I get this as well. You feel like you've done not enough, but too much. I feel like that all the time. I always end up being like, I didn't get that, I didn't get that done, but also, I am tired. Like I've done so much.
Oh yeah, it's Sunday night. I was dead. I arrived home, and my partner was laughing about this the other day. Actually, when we were talking about LARP to a friend of ours, and they were like, "Yeah, she's come home and I couldn't even tell him what happened during the weekend because I just needed to be horizontal." So like it's almost like post-con burnout as well. Like you guys have been to the conventions before, where it's like a full weekend, but then before then you have to prep everything. Exactly the same, except with Empire, mentally I found it more draining because you have to be in that character. Like it's rewarding, but always you kind of feel like you have to be switched on at any moment to do that improv, or anything can happen. So you've got to be prepared to, I don't know, cast a spell, draw a sword.
Yeah, it's almost like watching like a 24-hour movie. You know, that's what I kind of compare it to. Like you're like, because there's so much stimulation, not just obviously like it's physically you're walking around, but like you said, it's like you're getting all this input from all this stimuli all around you, because everyone's trying to get stuff done. And the weekend there's a war going on, and but on a smaller level these two people are arguing, and then, oh, what's this creature here? Oh, there's a kid coming up and asking me to buy something, and oh yeah, oh no, my friend's just died, oh no, I'm dead, oh no, I'm at my own funeral. Like there's just so much stimulus for like basically just over 48 hours, you know. And by the time it's all done and you come back and you got that quiet car ride home, and you're like, "Whew, that was a lot."
I can imagine that getting harder and harder as well as you're progressing with your characters, because you're creating those connections with other people. You create your connections with your character as well, so you get more emotionally invested in the things that are happening around. So like, obviously, when you guys both unfortunately lost your two characters earlier this year, I can imagine, I think you even said it in your podcast, it was almost like actually going through real life grief, in that it was so intense, because you are in these characters for short, intense bursts. Everything is like overwhelming. So then to suddenly be like, oh, they're gone. You're like, how do I deal with this? It sounds like such a strange phenomenon to experience.
I also think it's something that you can't even prepare for, because we were like talking about, you know, wanting to chat more about character bleeds and things like that. But I think I don't think there's any way I could have possibly prepared myself for that. I still cry about it. I still sometimes think about Aranel. I'll see her armor sitting there and I'm like, oh, her armor. It's a hard one, but I think it's definitely E4 was tough in the sense I was like, I need to love this character because I lost the character I loved so much. I need to love this one. And luckily it did work out quite well, and it was all fine and so different from RNL. But still, I don't think there's any way to prepare yourself for that sort of intensity. It's not even like in like D&D and things like that and tabletop games, because there's always a way to bring your character back, you know?
Yeah.
There's always a way around it. But these ones, you're just like, oh, they're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
Done. How are you feeling though? Because obviously you came in at E4 and now you've got the long dark. How are you coping with that? You know,
the brain rot set in quite quickly. I won't lie. It took a good few weeks to stop thinking about it every day, because it was quite intense. I enjoyed it that much. So I think the way I've dealt with it is just trying to encourage as many other people as possible to, like, honestly, my friends must be sick of me talking about Empire at this point, because I take every opportunity I can to talk about Empire. My partner's just sat down and started nodding his head.
Come join us.
No, he's very much happy to not do the LARP side of things
for now.
Hey, yeah, I've seen that if my father-in-law can come LARPing, anyone can come LARPing.
Yeah.
He would have been there with you that night at Songs and Stories with everyone's swords, because that was his story the next day as well. He was like, oh, yeah, everyone stood there and they took their swords out and things, and I was like, look at you creating LARP memories.
Getting involved, fan art, all the rest of it. Let's go.
In fact, I think he was. Did he not go to the night market and do the gambling thing as well? Is that not exactly what he did?
I think he pretty much did. Yeah. He was gambling. He went to a night market.
Amazing.
He did everything.
Yeah. Reed, did you do any of the like the PD new player stuff on like the Friday?
Oh, I went to the sort of opening event, which is sort of like your general overview of lots of different pieces. You know, they kind of mention things about, the Senate, and this is where in character time is, out of character time is where God is. They went through a couple of safety rules, things like, all the weapons should have XYZ, but a bow is different because a bow is actually a weapon, so don't be stupid. So I went to that one, and that was really good. I missed the magic one. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to that one. But I think I might go next time, because I think you can still hop into those whenever you want.
I'm thinking about going and doing because they have little ones for like all the different things, like exorcism and using Liao, and like I'm thinking about going to the religion one next time, just to get a little primer. I'm always interested to know whether people actually find those useful, because I speak to a few new players that just can't, because it's very difficult to tell the time. How did you get around like trying to figure out what time of day it was? You get used to it a little bit, but I have a timepiece now, and I'm like, I can't be without my stopwatch now, because I need to know what time it is, especially when you get into meetings. But I know that first event, I was just like, oh, well, I think this is happening at 3 o'clock. All right, what's the time? 10 to 3. Cool. We're not in kit, and it's the other end of the field. Oh well.
Yeah, I'm to be completely honest, I did have my magic mirror on me at all times. It was I had a bag with me. I didn't use it really, literally apart from telling the time, because that was it's hard to find anything timekeepy that matches with Celine. It is something that I want to do instead. But also because it was like our first event, I wanted to make sure that there was a way for us to contact each other just in case. But yeah, it was difficult. The time slips away so quickly. That I missed a few things. There was another session, like a magic-y session on the Sunday, that I think I missed, but I think that was mainly because the storm hit on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And I ended up kind of going, let's get back to the tent now.
Yeah.
Just in case. But yeah.
Yeah, those new character primers, like, they're fine. I think, one, they're too easy to miss. Two, they're not overly useful if you know a lot of the information. I know when we went, we were like, oh, we'll go to that new player thing, was the thing you were talking about. And to be honest, we already knew it all, basically, because we'd already done like the research. I feel like they should probably do videos instead of having to just do the talk every single time. They should just do a video primer, and just when you buy a ticket, go, hey, we've sent you an email with your ticket. Also, here's a video on the like the code of conduct and what is LARP, how to role play, blah 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 blah, so everyone can just sit leisurely, watch it before they head to the event or something.
Yeah, like this is the 2024 videos that we have ready, and then like change them if there's like a rule change or something. That would be quite cool.
Because it's difficult when people break the rules, especially the code of conduct and things like that, when it comes to role play or like combat pulling you blows and things like that. It's just like, well, that's the rules. It's just like, well, there's no guarantee that people have actually heard that rule. You know, you can go online, you can buy a ticket without ever reading the words pull your blows. You can show up without anybody telling you to pull your blows. You can you don't have to go to that new player meeting where they say pull your blows, and be careful with, like you say, with an actual weapon. And then you get onto the battlefield and literally no one has told you, oh, by the way, we're pulling our blows. You've basically got to rely on the entire player base to tell you to not pull your blows, you know?
I think, videos and stuff would be really helpful. I think that's what personally I found was a little lacking. Is I loved reading the wiki. I read a load of, like you guys did as well by the sounds of it, is you read everything beforehand because you just kind of get so involved. You're like, or maybe not everything, but like before you go to that okay, never mind.
I want to be a knight. Cool, Dawn sounds good. I'll be a knight errant. Cool. I went in, I had no idea. I didn't know what the virtues were. I didn't know anything about magic. Nothing.
but yeah, the new player event I thought was helpful, but I do agree that having some like an official video would be really helpful. Because that's what I found was difficult to kind of find that content, because whilst I love reading, I love getting involved, when you look at the current wiki, it can be quite intimidating, especially if you're new to anything like this. You haven't done, any tabletop role playing, you haven't done any LARP, you haven't even played any sort of role playing video game, anything, you're brand new. I can imagine looking at that is like, I'm not bothering with that. I'm just going to go and wing it. And like you said, if you're going to be fighting and you don't have that sort of person at the front of the gate going, new players over to the left, I'm going to give you a quick debrief on the most important thing that you need to do, which is don't hit anyone stupid. And then people are going to be in the field whacking. Because Robyn, I'm right in thinking that you got accidentally like poked in the throat at one
Oh,
event,
I've
and
had
that was
every
quite
injury, but
scary.
yeah, like that was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like it right into my, and it was when I was wearing the orc mask, and it was like
Yeah.
a pole arm straight into my throat, and I just was down and couldn't breathe, and it was like it's difficult using a weapon that you've never used before as well. Like if you're using something like that you don't realize how much power is actually behind that action.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a tricky one, but that sort of I do think it would be good if and I don't know how they would go about doing this, but having a mandatory physical fighting session before you actually go out and fight for the first time. Like we kind of went and did the nuclear skirmish, which is pretty much that. Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
that definitely does teach you a lot in the sense of, okay, you should be pulling your blows, but also you get to go and experience it, and that's when the questions come up, so you can actually be like, oh, this is the first time I've ever used a sword, and oh, I now don't know what I'm doing. And then you've got actually like refs and things there to be like, oh, okay, this is how you do this is how you do that, you need to call at this point, and it prepares you. But making that mandatory could be quite good, I think, just for the fighting side of it.
Yeah, I think fighting, although that my knowledge on that is limited because I'm not a fighting character, I would say out of everything that I've seen or experienced so far, that seems to be the most like dangerous IRL thing. Because we can cast as many spells as we want as like magey characters, but really we're just kind of chucking glitter in the air and saying a couple of words and having a little dance. But
that is magic
when it comes to like foam, yeah. But like when it comes to like the foam weapons, and yeah, especially bows as well, because that was the one thing they were quite adamant about. Yeah, I think maybe it would be beneficial to kind of have a mandatory, you need a stamp or you need something against your name on the database where someone will pull up an iPad and go, what's your player ID? Yeah, you're good to go. I don't know, maybe the logistics of that is just like too insane, which is why it's not.
Like talking about like the new player stuff and things like that, is there anything that you weren't that keen on over the weekend, Rhi? Like, was there anything you were just like, I'm not? Bear in mind, we're not affiliated with PD, so feel free. We love the game.
Roast them.
Yeah, we love
PD are the best. We love you.
Yeah, we love the game PD makes. You know what I mean? And sometimes I worry because we love the game so much that it's very rare that we actually criticize the game, to be honest. But
yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really have any major like, oh, that was terrible, I'll never do that again sort of experiences. I know, granted, like first ever LARP experience, there's a potential, right, by having that many people in one place at one time that someone's going to do something crappy. I think I don't really have any criticism of sort of the game as it is right now. Maybe I have better feedback once I kind of dive a little bit more into like the systems, especially after like the next year, if I want to do like coven work and get more like I didn't have a chance to. I cast one spell, so I guess maybe one tiny criticism of that would be it was difficult to try and figure out any of the specifics of that spell. When I was on the field, like I had to go away and get the wiki up to double check what was going on, and then I had to go to God, and then I was basically casting a level 1 spell to commune with an eternal, and one person said to me, you need to go get a sheet and write it out in this many squares, and when I went to God, they went, no, you don't need to do that, and I went, are you sure? I just want to double triple check, like not saying I don't believe you, but I just want to double triple check because I had multiple people telling me multiple things. I don't want to like get it wrong and then I come back in like 4 to 6 months time and the spell has not worked and I've done something wrong, you know what I mean? Whereas if it was in E1 to E4, you only kind of wait about 2 months to get back to something, right? Or a month in the summer. I'd one slightly weird incident, but it was weird, kind of wholesome, but also weird. Maybe I've just got thick skin for it. I was literally like sat outside the tavern on the main strip, and I had a random guy come up to me to tell me that I was exactly his type and that I hope I have a good evening, and then walked away. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that information, buddy. Like,
it's interesting.
Thanks. Yeah.
Like on that topic, actually, I mean, like because you came from like a lot of the cosplay scene, same as
Mhm.
us. The one thing that I know is quite a big difference between Comic-Con interactions and LARP
Yes.
interactions. Did you find the same, like coming into the LARP field? Because I was mentally prepared for a non-stop Comic-Con type of situation, and that's not what I experienced. What did you find?
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's been to Comic-Con, especially for like as long as we have, know that there can be certain people in that space that are can make things complicated during the weekend for a varying number of reasons. However, I found that everybody was very much on the same page for the most of the time in the LARP space. I think because there's a cost barrier to it. You know, you need to kind of commit to doing LARP in a lot of ways, whether that's, you know, paying for the ticket is cheaper than a Comic-Con, or maybe not a weekend pass now because that's quite expensive at Comic-Con now.
Yeah, no, but you're right though. There is that barrier actually.
So it's you kind of, the people that are there, I felt, were already kind of very committed to doing it. So the more people who are committed to doing it, the less people there who are just taking the mick out of things. But I think yeah, like I said, you're gonna get the odd one or two, I would imagine, that start something. Or I think there was one night it looked like a fight was about to break out of character in Wintermark. Somebody did, I think somebody did something stupid. What I knew, I don't really know what happened. We just heard shouting behind us, but I think somebody role played something stupid and ended up sort of accidentally knocking over a fire pit. And then at that point, everyone else was out of character, like, you idiot, you almost set things on fire. And then that kind of got, no pun intended, extinguished socially quite quickly. But I felt like the crowd was a lot more open and relaxed because, yeah, there's a barrier to kind of get into LARP compared to a place like Comic-Con or EGX or any sort of convention where you kind of can get anyone there, which is also is a great thing because you get to meet so many people. But you can get people there who are there for the wrong reasons and will say things or do things or be inappropriate. And I felt like there was less of that in the LARP space in the event that I went to, at least.
Yeah, which is a weird one when you think about it. Like at LARP, at Empire specifically, there's thousands of people, and we're playing a game where you're encouraged to argue with one another, to be confrontational sometimes, to fight people. And you're also there a good chunk of the event in the dark, walking around trying to find things. You would expect that the risk is quite high of incidents happening, but really I mean, saying that, it took me a few events where I was actually felt like, yeah, I'm going to go wander around by myself now, because I always like to have people with me. But now it's kind of like, oh, actually, this is kind of this isn't Comic-Con. You know,
Yeah.
you're seen as your character here, and it is a different experience.
Yeah, it was nice. There was definitely a big sense of community. And I think that because it's a niche hobby, I feel like a lot of that sense of community is a little bit stronger because we kind of know that if somebody messes something up, like it does something to, you know, shine a bad light or misrepresent that community that people have worked so hard to build, it hits a little bit deeper because there's a lot of trust involved, whether that's, you know, trusting through those role-playing scenarios on the battlefield, creating stories that people are comfortable with. And also I think there are so many diverse people that come to LARP to experience, you know, this niche hobby, that it is very inviting, and we want to make sure that it's a safe place for everyone because we like the fact that it is diverse and for anyone who wants to come. So that I think as a community, now that I'm part of it, we as a community are kind of really not tolerant to anything like that happening. It spoils it.
There's also there's plenty of safeguarding in place as well, Empire. I know that if someone does something they shouldn't have done, usually everybody knows about it pretty quickly, and everyone is quite close-knit, and people can get banned from the event. And like you said, people that have invested into their tickets, invested in their kit, are usually the type of people that are invested in the game, and they're not going to do something it's going to result in them getting banned from the game. So those who do end up having to be banned, usually it is for something pretty bad, and they're gone. They're out of the game, and you don't have to see them again, which is good. They can't do that at Comic-Con. They just keep coming.
Oh yeah, we had one of the conventions I went to this year, it wasn't Comic-Con, but one of the conventions I went to this year, there was an incident where a guest speaker was heckled on stage. And because they were saying sexist things, and because the security wasn't there quick enough, they got away with it, and nobody could find them. And they, for all we know, had the whole weekend at that convention with no repercussions and had nothing. I think that's very difficult to do at Empire, because one, you're in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere, so like where you going? Even there are people even in the forest, so don't try and hide there. And there are so many people around, whether that be reps, egregores, or just people in general. Like, I felt completely comfortable walking up to random groups and being like, hey, what's going on? And they just instantly be like, do you want some food? Do you want some water? Sit down, talk to me. Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, it's such a weird experience though, isn't it? Like being able to be somewhere where you can walk up to a full group of strangers and you're felt welcomed so quickly, but it's the feeling of safety as well. It's really unique how they've managed to create that. How did you find leaving then? First ever event, first time doing this. How did you find coming back into the real world after it, like on the way home or anything? How did you find that sort of experience?
Like silence. I couldn't speak. Like my friend Liz and I who went, we just spent the whole ride back. Like, we spoke about a couple of things, like at the beginning, like, oh, what was your favorite bit? How did you find that? And then for about, I don't know, an hour of the journey, we just were comatose in the like upright. But yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, like the brain rot set in, and the post blues, the post event blues set in, and it was exhausting, but a good exhausted. It took a while for me to be able to get back to where I could sit down with someone and actually talk about my full experience, because I was so tired. But no, it was intense.
Yeah, there were times like in our first event where I think I got like tired and overwhelmed, and yeah, there were moments where I was like, you know what, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I was like, well, yeah, I don't know. And then like at the end of it, we had a big massive event happen at the end. Sorry, we had a big thing happen at the end of the event. That was really dramatic and amazing. And it wasn't until we like got home and then I realized like how much of a good time I actually had, because it's a lot, isn't it? Especially if you're not used to LARPing at all, like, you know, in that type of environment, and being outside and camping, and you're not that type of person either. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of stimulus. You know.
So we know what you're gonna head off and do at EO and everything next year, and we've got some plans and things. Obviously, the good thing about the Long Dark is that you have more time for kit stuff. Have you got any sort of new pieces of kit or anything that you're wanting to try and like find, or anything you want to try creating or anything? What are you thinking?
I need to get a cape or a coat or something, because I'm not going to survive. Yeah, I've been looking at, to be honest, I've been keeping my eye on any winter sales that are going to come out, especially, you know, Boxing Day onward. So there's a couple of online stores that I'm keeping my eye on, but hopefully in the new year, I'll be able to kind of get back out and dedicate sort of a weekend to looking at a couple of shops, thrifting, see what I can find. But it's definitely going to be, you know, capes, coats, furs, feathers, thermals, anything.
Say, hopefully there should be like lots of like Boxing Day thermal sales or something, because like that is what you definitely need for that first event here. It is that's the only thing that I would like to say about that one, is it is a cold event. But I mean, the good thing, I guess, about being in winter, Mark, is you're constantly surrounded by a lot of fires.
Yes. I think I'm going to have to invest in some sort of camping kettle and a hot water bottle to strap to myself at certain points in the day, where I can just hide it under a cloak and be like,
I've
yes.
seen there's a hot water bottle I've seen kind of like going a little bit viral online. It's one that's meant to wrap around your whole body, and I was like,
oh, there we go.
I feel like I could get one of those. Filled with hot water, obviously, and I could put it on underneath like my cloak and things. Nobody would know it's there. The other great thing that I get is I got like a box of like 40 of the little hot hand things.
Yes.
I use those, and I put them everywhere.
Yes,
Fill
yes,
the
yes,
bed up
yes.
with them, everything.
Sleeping on a bed of just like the little crunchy hand warmer thing. It's just before you go to bed, punching them all and then laying on them.
Well, I found this cloak. It's just a little cheapy thing, but it's got like a battery operated. It's almost like a heated blanket, and you put one of the like phone charging
I know what you
battery
mean.
packs.
Yeah.
So I've got like a scarf, like a black scarf, and like a cloak, and they heat up. So I'm going to test that out. We have a Game of Thrones themed LARP in January, so I'll test it out then.
Ooh.
And if that works, that's going to be it from that point onwards, because that E1, the cold, was just yeah.
Yeah, I think
Crazy.
I think it's really important to if you're going to spend your money on a decent cloak. This is the thing, like, so obviously I imagine you already got this idea, especially being a cosplay person, that one of the big differences is that like the stuff needs to be practical when you're out LARPing. So you can try and shop around for a cheaper cloak, but obviously the expense comes from the material quality and function. So you can get cheap cloaks, but are they going to keep you warm? Maybe not. They might look the part, but they're not actually going to do the thing. And usually it's not usually them. I mean, you get some real beautiful cloaks, but in general they're a very basic garment, so they're not like they're not like the sexiest bit of kit you want to go out and buy and be like, oh, I want to spend all my money on that. But it is definitely an essential piece. Also, if you get a relatively plain one, that'll do you for like characters like forever.
Yeah.
Right.
The rain is what scares me the most, though, I have to say. Out of the cold and the rain, I think the rain scares me the most, because I think drying and waterproofing is probably going to be difficult one to tackle, whereas if you're too cold, there are already some ideas, like we're already pinging around things, but when you're wet, that scares me.
Yeah, the main advice people tend to give is bring a spare pair of boots and plenty of socks and things like that for when there is a wet event. I tried to re-proof my cloak last year, or to waterproof it. I got the tent waterproofing spray and covered it in it. Then I found out it reacts to the fire if you're sitting too close to it. And I was sitting there, and there was all this like
steam coming off you,
like steam coming off of me.
Oh my god!
It looked really ethereal.
Not
Are
sure.
you
okay? Are you casting something? Play with it. Go with it. I'm getting contacted by some sort of.
Oh man.
Well, we're well over time actually. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No at all. No,
This is a good thing.
No, it's always a good thing. We get to over an hour. And I'm like, oh my god, I haven't asked you half the things I was going to ask you. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, Rhi. Do you want to? No, you got a platform. Do you want to shout anything out? Shout your YouTube channel out? Anything like that?
Yeah, sure. I'm a very mediocre content creator in my spare time. I have a small YouTube channel, which is basically whatever I like posting. It's mainly nerdy things like LARP, discussing a lot about video game stuff, because I work in the video game industry. So if you like that sort of stuff, just type in Rhianne Murphy and I think I pop up. And then I'm Rhianne Man on every other social media. If you like cosplay and Instagram, I tweet about mostly Eurovision and weird things, niche subjects. So if that's your thing, then
I'll put all the links down in the description. Go follow, go and subscribe to Rhi's stuff. Right, everyone, shall we say goodbye to the podcast? Bye, Rob. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you very much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this show, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to the channel, go check us out on iTunes, on Spotify, go check out our Patreon if you want to support us via there. We have lots more content coming at you in the new year. Until then, though, you can go and check out some of our other content that we have done. Until the next time, though, we love you very much and stay safe.